Okay, so if we were to live in a world where there is no 2010 version of How to Train Your Dragon and we are seeing How to Train Your Dragon play out for the first time, this is objectively a good movie. But I think the criticism that's coming from this is that it's derived from a film that came out 15 years ago, and this movie is good because the source material is good. Because this movie is practically a frame by frame remake of the original film. It's bloated a bit more by about 25 minutes. And the dialogue, even, is also pretty much very much the same, aside from some of the bloated part that I'll get into. So, all this being said, this is a good movie and it's a great time, but it is very safe. And there's pros and cons to that. So, I know that Universal was wanting to adapt How to Train Your Dragon into live action, and I do think out of a lot of animated films, this is a pretty solid one to go with. And I guess unlike Disney, that has often approached directors that had nothing to do with the original films, I do applaud Universal Studios for approaching Dean DeBlois, the original director of the How to Train Your Dragon film, and asked him, hey, do you want to direct the live action adaptation of this film? And he said yes. I'm sure, because why would you want someone else at risk of potentially like ruining this amazing thing that you created? So I do admire that. And of course, John Powell's score has always been amazing, and there are things that are super fun to see in this movie play out as live action, such as the test flight scene. Amazing. I will say, as far as performances go, Mason Thames as Hiccup and Nico Parker as Astrid, they give solid performances. I know that Nico Parker is getting some backlash saying that her performance was a bit too wooden and not very expressive, and that didn't bother me. I appreciated that she had a different take on the character of Astrid, and it still worked. It's just a different take from the original film. And Mason Thames, it's a solid performance, but it's not a standout performance. It's hard to really beat that voice performance from Jay Baruchel in the original film. I did think that the standout performances come from Gerard Butler as Stoick, who voiced Stoick in the original film, now coming in to play the same character in live action. I mean, Gerard Butler, like being a star for a reason, kills it. And I think he brings a bit more of a deep emotional point to his character than maybe what you would see in the animated film. So I actually thought his character was improved upon with his performance. Another standout performance is the actor that played Gobber. I also thought that he did really solid. As far as everybody else, it wasn't necessarily stand out, but it was still solid and a good time. The CGI, Toothless, looking super good. And then another thing too that I really loved was the on-location shooting in Northern Ireland. I will say the village of Burke, it's giving stage play. Like even the costumes are giving a bit stage play. Like it kind of reminded me of The Princess Bride. But when they get out into like the wilderness and flying around, that was inspired by the Faroe Islands in Iceland. Like that's where it just visually looks stunning. But the village and being in Burke, like I said, kind of gives a bit of stage play. Here's the thing with this live action remake. There are people saying like, this is how you do a live action remake. This is the best one. And I guess I just want to ask the philosophical question, right? I know that there are people that have commented in my videos saying, I am a person that if they are going to make a live action remake of an animated film, I want a frame by frame, shot by shot remake. I don't want any changes. But there is an audience out there that questions, why make a live action remake if it's essentially just going to be the exact same thing but live action? What is the point in doing that? And is that an insult to the medium of animation, as if animation can't deliver something that live action can, because animation can be enjoyed by everybody, not just children. So I do admire the fact that even though Disney has had some great and not great live action remakes, I do admire their innovation, that they have tried to make some changes and adapt their animated films. Now, have some of those adaptations not been great execution? Yes. But some are good, and I think largely it depends on the source material that you're adapting. I do think in the case of How to Train Your Dragon, the source material is so good that it was honestly a better decision to play it safe and be as close to the original as possible. And I think what might be happening with some of these Disney live action remakes is they have often changed a bit too much from source materials that were just really, really good. And it's one thing to really make a lot of changes for a story that's not very sophisticated, like The Jungle Book or Cinderella. It's easier to kind of adapt that for a live action remake and do some different things with it versus The Lion King or Beauty and the Beast. So anyways, that's this philosophical question. This was a solid live action remake. I'm not going to say that this is how they should all be done, because I'm not in the camp that every live action remake should be a frame by frame remake of the original. But I will say that this is still a good time in the theater. And if anything, these live action remakes are at least introducing the film to a new audience for the people that maybe have not seen the original.